Welcome to the video on Bloom's Taxonomy. You are going to, for this project, select 7 books. They need to be well-written children's picture books. You need to have one from each of the genre listed below. You need a wordless picture book. You need a traditional storybook, a traditional tale. That would be a fairy tale or a legend, one of those. You will need a fantasy. This is something like that has fairies or something that absolutely cannot be true whatsoever. Sometimes the traditional tales and fantasy tales cross over. In order for it to be traditional, though, keep in mind it needs to be one of the early versions of the fairy tale if you use fairy tales, or it needs to be a legend, or it can be something in terms of really, if you'll stick with the legends, you do pretty well. Fantasy, there are tons of little fantasy books out there. Anything that has animals that are talking is a fantasy book. So a good example would be Tops and Bottoms. It's a book where the rabbit and the bear talk. So that would be a fantasy book. Anything where the animals talk is except for, again, then you've got fables like Aesop's fables. They fall into traditional. So if you have a problem with those, be sure to know you can come and ask me about it. Historical fiction is an untrue story that is set specifically to bring information about a historical time. Now, Henry's Freedom Box is a historical fiction. We tend to sometimes act as though it were not a fiction, but it actually is a fiction. So you've got books that deal with a period of time historically, but they're not 100% true. So that would be that type of book. Also, you'll need to have a concept book. This is one of those books that teaches a concept, such as an ABC book, or a numbers book, or a book about verbs, or a book about, I don't know, algebra, I don't know, but it needs to be a concept book. Then you're going to have a non-fiction narrative. This would be a book like a biography. It's true, but it's written in story form. So it would be some form of biography or some true story written in story form. Nonfiction expository is true, but it is written in a teaching format. So it could be like one of the children's encyclopedias, or it could be one of those books all about living in the 1800s, or a how-to book is nonfiction expository. A cookbook is even nonfiction expository. Keep in mind these books need to be for children. For each book you will write 6 activities, one for each level of Bloom's. You'll want to refer to the Bloom's handout that I provided for you on Blackboard. Remember that the different levels of Bloom's include remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. You may not repeat activities from one book to another, and you need to remember that we are using the new Bloom's. You have to understand what they mean. You'll want to, when you introduce the book, you need to tell the grade level and developmental level of the students in the book. Tell about the book a little bit and why you chose it. You need to have a short summary, description of the types of pictures, and the reasons to use this book in a variety of ways. You really have to justify the use of the book. This is a good opportunity for you to really use what you have learned in children's literature. I know we don't have the class anymore, but this is just a concept. You're going to have to really start educating yourself. On the discussion of the activities, don't just name the activity. Give it enough information so I know what you're talking about. Now, be really careful that you have the book and the 6 activities all together. I want that to all be one piece. Don't give me the books all together and then all of the remembering activities and all the don't do it that way. I want the book and the 6 activities, and the book and the 6 activities. You can do it as a PowerPoint, you can do it as a paper, you can do it as, gosh, if you wanted to put it on a board and do it that way, fine, but I need enough information that I know what you're doing. So however you want to do it, but you will be responsible for bringing this or turning this in, and I will have I haven't determined at this point if it's going to be bringing it to class or if it's going to be turning it online. Most likely there'll be an online portal, and if you have something big like a board or something like that, then you'll turn that one in to me in class. So that's how that goes. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to call me.